Welcome back to Hope at Dawn, right here at Hope TV, where you look and you live. My name is George Gishuru, and that was Pastor Tumaini reminding us that yes, ni mkono wa Bwana umetushika, umetufikisha hapa. Safari haijakuwa rahisi, lakini ametufikisha hapa. Let's now look at what's being reported in the dailies. The Daily Nation, we begin with the Daily Nation, and the headline, Ruto, Adani deals good for you. President William Ruto has finally shown his hand, throwing his weight behind the controversial multi-billion shilling Adani deals in the energy, transport and health sectors, which he says will help to ease the tax burden on Kenyans and reduce the country's reliance on borrowing. It's a story that you can read on page 7. The 95 billion shillings deal between Adani Energies and Ketraco will cut power costs. That is what the president had to say. And President Ruto speaking during the launch of the 35 megawatts or power 22 power plant yesterday at the geothermal energy fields in Menengai in Nakuru County. Right? You'd read that story on page 7. I also see why Gachagua wants judges to quit case. Impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has sought the recusal of the judges handling several petitions challenging his ouster, claiming he will not get a fair hearing. Through several lawyers, Gachagua said he no longer has confidence in judges Eric Ogola, Anthony Mrima and Frida Mugambi, claiming that the bench has already taken a position against him in the matter. As such, the court is today expected to decide on whether it will continue handling the cases, and you can read that story on pages 4 and 5. And there is a picture there of senior counsels Paul Muite and Githu Muigai during the hearing of the petition challenging Gachagua's removal from office as deputy president at the Milimani law courts. Right. Still on the front page, how Wells Fargo boss walked into death trap when Wells Fargo Human Resources Director Willis Ayeko Onyango flew out of Nairobi on October 18th to mourn with a friend who had lost his mother and attend to other matters. He thought he would make his way back to the city as usual, but this was not to be. It's a story that you can read on page 3. And now the family of the murdered Wells Fargo HR boss calls for speedy justice. Police officers says they are following leads to help them establish the motive of killing. It's a story that you can get on page 3. And on page 2, last moments before killing of woman, daughter and niece. Bodies of the adults had stab wounds, with police saying it is the work of same killer or killers. And a young woman with her cousin went to look for her aunt, only for the three to be found murdered several hours later. And you can read that on page 2. And DNA fails to link body to missing ward rep. That's also a story that you can read on page number 2. Looking at other stories inside the Daily Nation. Fit as a fiddle, Uhuru makes public comeback. Former president's absence from the limelight fueled rumors about his death. Mr. Kenyatta's well-being had become a concern. But after weeks of absence, in a 4:37 p.m. post on social media by his office, Kenyatta is seen arriving in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, ahead of the 15th high-level retreat on the promotion of peace, security and stability in Africa. And so you can read that on page number 6. Other stories. No end in sight for IEBC troubles as US weighs in. President has been accused of deliberately delaying the commission's reconstitution. Kenyans wishing to recall their MPs cannot do so without a fully constituted electoral commission. So you can read that on page 8 inside the Daily Nation. Right. Let's peruse to other stories and get to see the county news. What's happening, and they say main suspect in Nakuru killings turns state witness. A prime suspect in the murders of women in Nakuru City's Mawanga Estate has struck a plea bargaining deal, agreeing to testify against his 5 co-accused. I also see county officials on the spot over fishy staffing practices. Senators have initiated a probe into the hiring practices at the Vihiga County Public Service Board. Then I see EACC sleuths raid homes and offices of top officials in Bomet County. In Turkana County, LAPSSET project promises glad tidings for residents. All right. Then the DN2 pull out The Voice, not just a woman's disease, breast cancer. The experiences of 2 male survivors reveal how gender bias in healthcare, delayed diagnosis, and cultural stigma are creating a deadly crisis where men face higher mortality rates than women. You can read that on pages 4 and 5, and so you can read that on the DN2 pullout today. All right. Then in other news, inside, allow us to peruse. We have the international news. African progress backslides as coups war persists, study says, and France rallies support for Lebanon, war rages. Caretaker Prime Minister says Beirut could deploy 8,000 soldiers as part of truce plan. And West accused of politicizing aid. Sudan on Wednesday accusing Western countries of politicizing humanitarian efforts and unjustly blaming the military and government for obstructing relief. Let's look at the business section. Jubilee and DTB launch new cover premium pay option, ratio of 95% ratio of the poor with no form of health cover. And you can read that. Eyes on retailers as average cost of factory inputs drops. Raw material charges fall comes when inflation has dropped to a 12-year low. You can read that on the business section. Let's go to the sports pages. Before then, the back page, National Assembly Senate clash over county budgets. The impasse between the two houses is now headed for mediation. National Assembly legislators voted to reduce allocations for various projects that are being implemented by the county governments. And then I see also another story, phones to be locked out of network over unpaid taxes. So non-tax compliant mobile phones will be blocked from accessing the national network from January, the Communications Authority of Kenya has said, as the government rallies to mop up elusive revenues. So from January, the sector regulator said tax compliance information of all mobile phones imported or assembled from November 2024 will be a prerequisite to their registration in the National Master Database and subsequent connection to local networks for them to be usable. All right, that's the back page. Let's go to the sports page. How Coach Cheche's tactical shift delivered win for Kenya. That is, a tactician believes the future is bright and calls for more investment in team. And MPs only IBC can conduct free, fair FKF elections. Dan Wanyama, the chair of the National Assembly Sports and Culture Committee, said we need to engage the CS so that fairness is guaranteed by ensuring that IBC is part of the process. I also see start winning or else. Shabana fans give Pamzo Omolo ultimatum. This is pressure mounting on experienced Shabana coach Sami Pamzo Omolo after a rather poor start to the Football Kenya Federation Premier League season. So read that story on page 42. And still the same page, Africa deserves more slots at the Olympics, Batch told. IOC boss is scheduled to meet with President Ruto at State House in Nairobi today. Kenyan Sports Federation heads ask IOC boss to increase continent's representation. And KPA is out to reclaim Africa Zone 5 basketball crown. That is what's being reported in the Daily Nation. Looking at the Standard, it's race against time as DP goes for judges to withdraw or not. Impeached Deputy President Gachagua is not relenting in his push to have 3 judges withdraw from hearing consolidated cases challenging his removal from office, even as the question of whether or not orders blocking his replacement by Kindiki Kithure have run out simmers. See, the story is covered on pages 4 and 5. And of course, also on the front page is a photo there of former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru in Abidjan for Africa Peace meeting. And you can get to read that as well. Ruto defends Adani's 95 billion shillings power deal. President urges Kenyans to embrace financing by private partners to help alleviate the tax burden on Kenyans and cut over dependence on loans. And slain HR managers keen demand justice. Shock and fear after Eastleigh triple killings. That is a story also that was covered on the Inside the Nation. An ease over delays in IBC recruitment also has been captured on page 9 inside the Standard. Recruitment team is expected to be sworn in anytime now after a long court battle. For over 2 years, the IBC has not been properly constituted. And IBC's ability to support democracy in Kenya is compromised without the recruitment of commissioners or parliamentary action to provide funding for voter registration, by-elections and other electoral activities. And so President Ruto could face challenges due to the delayed recruitment of IEBC. And it's a story you can read on page 9. Then looking at other stories inside the Standard, let's look at the business section. And privacy concerns as KRA targets mobile phones in a new tax push. CA wants all phone manufacturers, retailers and mobile network operators to upload MEI number on Taxman's portal. Public and data privacy advocates accuse the regulator of opaqueness in disseminating the crucial policy shift. And Kenya's grey list status, a threat to economy, job creation. You can read that on page 19. Looking at the world news, NATO, Ukraine trade, Europe's concerns ahead of US election. And Commonwealth leaders push for reparation talks. Make sure you are reading that on the international page. The sports pages, we look at Barca thrash Bayern as Liverpool stay perfect. Hat-trick hero Rafinha says the match should have been a final. Guardiola praises Haaland after unbelievable goal against Sparta Prague. PLS junior starlets afford a last dance at FIFA Under-17 World Cup. Dazzling Kenya overcome Mexico to write history. Nekesa becomes first Kenyan to score in a World Cup as Faith bags Player of the Match award. And Mohamed enters into partnership with Global Farms. And Diego and Mogunde join Macharia in finals. And finally, Bucks stand tall over depleted Sixers. Bucks led 58-47 at halftime and push the advantage to 22 after the break. And on the FKF elections, FKF Electoral Board urged to run credible polls. One of the candidates, Sam Nyamoya, has called on the FKF Electoral Board to conduct free, fair and transparent elections. And it's a story on page number 29. Then the Business Daily front page, KRA to track motorists' fuel use with eTIMS link. Every purchase will from June be accompanied with receipt. Integration also aimed at curbing fictitious VAT claims. That's a new development there. Governors, CESs hit as Treasury caps cars. CSAs and governors will be assigned 2 official cars, while members of boards of parastatals will use private cars and seek reimbursement in proposed radical changes by the Treasury. I also see CA set to block all non-tax compliant mobile phones. That's a story also that you can read on page 5. IFC equity in 2.6 billion refugee finance inclusion deal. And there is a quote here by Jaindi Kisero. The government is still living from hand to mouth, merely surviving by building up arrears on payments. Further story you can read on page number 9. And that is what is happening and being reported in the dailies. Make sure you are grabbing your favorite copy of your daily. A lot is happening. Let's continue to pray for the nation. nation, pray for the different counties, the 47 of them, pray for the county governments, pray for the national government, the executive, the legislature, and also pray for the judiciary as well. Let's pray for the economy of the nation as well. When the economy prospers, when the nation prospers, you will also prosper. All right. So with that, allow us to take yet another break, but this time round, it is to pave way for the video of the day.